Today's episode is going to be a little more lighthearted, a little more on the fun side, if you will. At least, I hope it is. And just going through me and a couple friends, actually, a work friend colleague, and a friend from high school. This was also like at different points, so this is the main reason why this has influenced this episode. And this was talking about TV shows and movies that we grew up on as kids. Specifically, TV shows. Now, okay, here, there it is. I almost forgot where my phone was. So, the first one on the top of the list, because I brought a little list, I'm just going to kind of go through that I grew up on. Now, this also might be a bit of a bias as well, because I personally think that the TV shows from like the early 90s to about like 2012, maybe 2015, that time frame of TV shows and movies, elite. Like, hands down, best time. Again, that was between my time period as well, so again, there is that bias. Now, I also don't pick sides, but again, they're fucking TV shows, like, they're kid shows, like, the fuck? Alright. But, the first one, Fairly Odd Parents. Fairly Odd Parents was one of those shows that I feel like someone had to be on crack to make, or some sort of ridiculous drug, or they just had a crazy imagination. Now, the whole gist of Fairly Odd Parents was, for people who've never heard of it, never watched it, you have the main character, his name is Timmy Turner. He is a kid, and he has a babysitter. You know what, let me just look all this stuff up, because, like, I haven't watched these shows for so long, but I have a general gist on the general knowledge of what they are. But let me just look these up, because I do not want to. Alright. The Fairly Odd Parents. Timmy Turner, a 10-year-old boy, has had it with his babysitter. He summons his fairy godparents, who have the power to grant him wishes. Some of the wishes are really helpful, others don't work out so well. Timmy's godparents, Wanda and Cosmo, have ideas of their own and always lead Timmy on interesting adventures. Yeah, I mean, that's, for the lack of a better word, that is honestly the best way to really say it, is crazy, wacky adventures. There was also a whole bunch of kind of crazy, what's that word? Not like hypotheticals. It's, dude, am I having a brain fart moment? I always have these, bro. I forgot what it is, but it's when you think you believe in something, but it does. But, alright, anyway, that's besides the point. But it's one of those shows that I was super excited for, watching whenever it came out. And it was just this crazy all over the place show that had, I mean, things had a timeline, but things never really felt solidified. But again, it was a kid show. You didn't really have to have like a specific time frame or timeline of certain things. It was just all over the place. I fucking loved it. It was great. So, I think, yeah, I saw that it says that it's on Netflix. So, if anybody never watched it, gets a chance to, if you can find it on Netflix, please watch it. Again, it's one of those shows, it's just like, I don't have anything to do. I just want to kind of fill my time with something. Again, it's not like a Emmy award-winning, crazy kid show, but it was entertaining. Really. Now, these ones I never really watched so much, but they were still somewhat integrated into my life as a kid, which was Ed and Eddie, Foster's Homes for Imaginary Friends, Kim Possible. So those ones, were like brief watches, if anything. I just kind of watched like one episode here and then like another one. I'd be watching another episode here. I never really kept up to date with those ones, but I knew of them, but they still felt significant to my childhood. Now another one though, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Avatar: The Last Airbender, the animated version compared to the live TV show that came out now, it was immaculate. Hands down, growing up, I wanted to be like Aang. Aang is obviously the heroic teenage kid who has to save the world. So obviously not obviously, people who have never watched it won't obviously know, but the term Avatar is in that world, or that animated world, was someone who can control all four elements, which was fire, wind, earth, and water. So those four elements, the person who can control that was the Avatar. Before Aang, it was Avatar Kyoshi, I think, or Avatar Roku. Let me look that up, because it was either one or the other. Avatar before Aang was... Okay, Avatar Roku. But Avatar Kyoshi definitely played a somewhat significant part. So when a film came out, the first film, not the TV show that came out recently on Netflix. I say recently, I think it's been out for 8 months now. That TV show was awesome, amazing, and I think they've also verified it for seasons 2 and 3, or at least a season 2. Anyway, they blew that one out of the water. The film, not so much, because it was such a big part of my childhood. I watched it from the very beginning all the way to the end, the animated show. I kept up with that shit like it was water. It was amazing. The show didn't do the animated version justice, and I kind of felt let down, because it came out when I was 17 or 18, around that time frame, and when I watched the film, I was like, you know what, this is kind of naff. But I will give him the props that, visually it was pretty cool. The acting, yeah, kind of subpar, but again, everything is kind of really subjective in this world. Anyway, going off of that point, Bob the Builder. I love how I went from Avatar: The Last Airbender to Bob the Builder. Bob the Builder his name is Bob, and he builds shit. At least he fixes stuff. They also did do a updated version where it's a lot more animated. And they have, Bob the Builder has these talking machinery. Now that I think about it, it's kind of terrifying. A lot of these kid shows are somewhat terrifying. But another one was Teletubbies. Now, Teletubbies with the, sun as a baby's face. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it now. Growing up, though, when I was a kid, I didn't care. I was a kid. I mean, shit. Now, Kids Next Door, Powerpuff Girls. Okay, I remember Powerpuff Girls pretty well. You have... and I say that and I forget the names. Clove? Hold on. Not Clove. Bro. Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup. Where the hell did I get Clove from? But Powerpuff Girls, I remember watching. Dexter's Laboratory, Jackie Chan Adventures. Now, Jackie Chan Adventures was easily, easily my first kind of introduction to an action TV show, like my somewhat first superhero or like action figure slash heroic person that was like me. Because my first superhero that I looked up to was Spider-Man, and to this day, Spider-Man to me such a huge part of my life. I had like in my bedroom this just wall of comics of Spider-Man, and I think they're still down in the basement. I really hope those are fine, because I'd love to go back and look at those one day. Even if I had the kid and I'd be like, yeah, this is the shit I grew up on. It was fire. It was so good. Man, I'm thinking about this and like I'm reminiscing about all the stuff that I used to collect and watch as a kid. Oh man, Mom, Dad, I'm sorry if I made you spend a lot of money on me when I was a kid, like the whole like, because I easily feel like the comic books that I had, I think they were like what, $1.99, maybe $2.50, but I have a good, at least maybe 100 plus, so that's like 300 pounds, which probably correlates to about, no, not 300 pounds, yeah, about 300 pounds, which correlates to about like $380, $400, so, Mom, Dad, I'm sorry. My first introduction to anime, or some basically Japanese animated cartoon, because back then when I was a kid, anime was considered a cartoon. Was I wouldn't really call Huntic an anime. I mean, it's anime abbreviation for animated. So Huntic was there, but my absolute first love for like introduction to anime was Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Dragon Ball, Naruto, One Piece, Beyblade, and Bakugan. Those ones, I mean, there's a whole bunch of other ones. You've also got Ultimate Muscle is also top contender. Hajime no Ippo, which was a boxing anime, and to this day I still love anime and watch it, and it's also a huge part of my life currently. Now, when it comes down to Yu-Gi-Oh, and Pokemon, I collected the cards. I wanted to become a Pokemon trainer at one point. I wanted to become a duelist. When I watched Hajime no Ippo, I wanted to become a boxer. These are all things that influenced my life as a child growing up that I dearly, dearly miss, because right now it was just, I miss that feeling of the imagination. I miss that feeling, which is, anime still gives you that feeling, depending on which one you watch. If you watch a slice of life, or if you watch a shonen, or if you watch, there's a whole bunch of like different genres, but slice of life, shonen, which is more like the action side, and I mean, there's also got like horror anime, but like I don't really watch that much. I mean, you got Junji no Ito. I really hope I said that name right. But it's like a whole collection of just horror, like small. I think they're like it's a full 25-minute like anime, but they've got like 3 different stories within those ones. But definitely the biggest one, Yu-Gi-Oh and Beyblade, because then I didn't watch Naruto, One Piece, and Dragon Ball until I watched those ones. And then it was just this whole rabbit hole of trying to watch new anime. And there were some really fucked up ones as well that actually have been banned in Japan. I don't know if they've been banned in the US, but there's some old school anime that was really fucked up that's been banned in Japan because it's too explicit, there's too much sexual content, there's just the artwork is just too grim. Like, there's a whole bunch of reasons as to why. Now, on the slightly lighter side of that versus the whole darker side of anime and the whole action, powering up and beating the bad guy to absolute shit. The Action Man was a kind of Action Man. I also collected the action figures from Action Man. There was also another one kind of like Action Man, which was G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe I grew up a little bit on, but not so much G.I. Joe. I mean, I collected the action figures as well as watched the films and TV shows, but Action Man for me was the one where I collected the figures. I mean, I also collected Marvel, DC, but I didn't collect those until I was around maybe like 9 or 10. Action Man was integrated into my life when I was around 4 or 6. So, yeah, Action Man was definitely there. I recently watched, I say recently, it was maybe like 8 months ago. The Wild Thornberrys. They came out with a movie, and the Wild Thornberrys is, again, they're a family called the Thornberrys. They are I need to always look these up because, like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. The Wild Thornberrys, right here. We'll allow it for now. Eliza travels the world with her unusual family. As her parents make wildlife films, Eliza's talent for communicating with animals gets her into lots of crazy adventures. And I remember, so I'd have to, you have, obviously, Eliza, you have Nigel, who's the dad, you have Marianne, who's the mum, and now, my absolute favorite character from the Wild Thornberrys, Donnie. Donnie is just this ball of absolute energy, which I think is another reason why I kind of would watch these shows, is I could never express myself in this manner, so I would try to express myself through these TV shows and be like, I wish I could be like this person. I wish I could do the stuff the action heroes can. I wish I could live the life that this person in this anime does. Like, it's truly, we live through certain art forms. And, I mean, as a kid, I never understood that. All I understood as a kid was, these are shows. They're entertainment. As I grew older, and as I started to look at everything in my life, I was like, I'm slowly realizing that I try to live my life through inanimate things. Some people do, some people don't. Some people do live a much fruitful life than others. And it's fine. Now, I think between all the shows I watched, Rugrats and Arthur was probably some of the ones that I related to the most because it was just so real. It was this almost just, which is funny because Arthur was an animal and his best friend was a rabbit. I forgot what Arthur was as an animal, but Arthur was such a big part of my life as well growing up. And I just felt like I could relate to Arthur. It's just this, he had a sibling, a little sister. He was just living life, and he had friends. Obviously, this is my relationship through as when I was a kid, because obviously, when you're a kid, you don't try to worry about how you look, how you sound, how you just are in general. You're just having fun. It was interesting. And when I found out that it stopped, I mean, shows come to an end, as chapters in your life do. And when I found that out, I had to look up the finale. I had to, watch the last little clip of Arthur, because I almost felt like a little piece of me just kind of faded away when I found out Arthur ended. He turned out to be a comic book writer, or a book writer in general, I think it was, and then his sister became or DW, his sister, became a police officer, and then everyone else in their life became just, adults. And it felt so real, because that's kind of where I'm at now. It's like, when I was a kid, and fast forward to now, like, I don't know, I don't really know how to put into words. It's an interesting feeling that, like, a show had that much influence on my life to make it actually feel like I kind of not lost. I lost a piece of myself. It kind of like a piece of myself kind of faded away and grew up, if that makes any sense. Yeah, it was interesting. But before I finish this episode, an honorable mention is my very first horror movie. So this was during it was like a kind of a party that my parents held. So it was late at night, probably like 1:38, and then maybe 11 or like midnight. And it wasn't really a kids thing. It was mainly me and maybe two other kids, but things were slowly ending, and all the kids were playing, and I was like, I'm bored of playing. I want to see what's on TV. I want to see what's on tonight. I was 10 or 11 years old, maybe 9. I think I was 9 or 10. And I was just flicking through the shows, and I was just like, boring. Oh, animal documentary. I watched maybe like 3 minutes of it. Boring. And then I found this thing called Jeepers Creepers. And I watched it so vividly. I remember it so vividly. I mean, then again, it's probably because I watched it like 3 weeks ago. But like, Jeepers Creepers was my first introduction to horror movies, and like, I never really looked back. I mean, the first time I watched it did kind of fuck me up. I did have some nightmares. I couldn't sleep that well. But that lasted maybe like 5 days to a week. And then from then on, it was just like, I mean, my parents didn't let me watch any horror movies. So before anyone leaves a comment saying bad parents, they should have kept an eye on you. When you leave a kid to their own devices, they're gonna do stupid shit. They're gonna try and find, like, what they will just find stupid shit. So, but I'm kind of glad, because horror films are currently such a big part of my life. I love horror films. Like, do I watch them? Which is kind of funny, because I have to watch a horror film, and then I have to watch something a little more lighthearted right afterwards, because I am not that dark of a person to where I can watch a horror film and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna sleep tight. Fuck no. I'm not that fucked up. Damn. What do you take me for? Anyway, with that said, I appreciate you guys listening, and hopefully you enjoyed this episode. If there's anything I can do better, work on, if I could slow down, speed up my talking, or just any recording equipment, sound equipment, let me know, because I definitely take these into account. With that said, like, subscribe, share with friends. I'm on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and I'll see you guys in the next one.